Hi guys. So yesterday in writing, we talked about setting in our fantasy stories. We talked about three main ways that you can tackle setting in your fantasy story. You can have fantastical things happen in the real world. You can have a completely fantasy story where everything about your setting is in a fantasy world, or you can have a mix of the two. Maybe start out in the real world, end up in a fantasy world, come back to the real world. It's all about what works for you in your story. Today, we're going to talk about another element of our writing, and that is theme, carrying a message throughout our stories. When we think about writing and what matters to us in our writing, generally the stories that we enjoy reading have some sort of point. They have a lesson that we can learn. If you want to come up with a good theme for your story, you need to think about what matters in your life. That can help you focus your story and can help give your story point. If you know at least a little bit about what you want your character to learn by the end of the story, it can help you make decisions on how your characters should act and what they should do throughout the story, what they should say, who they should be, which is, as we've talked a lot about, very important to making your stories feel real. Okay. Obviously, we've talked about a lot of different ideas for fantasy fiction over the last week or so. Some messages. To come up with a theme or a message, you need to think about what matters to you and think about how can you incorporate this into your stories. One possible theme, you don't need to succumb to peer pressure to be accepted. Your story could be about your main character realizing that it's okay to be who they are. They don't need to be like everybody else, right? Like I like to say, be their own kind of weird. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. Talk about perseverance, working through things, not giving up. Again, we want to incorporate theme into our stories to give that life lesson. It gives the reader something to remember and something to think about, both as they're reading the story and as they finish reading the story. So, obviously, today you're not going to discuss with a partner some possible theme ideas for your stories. However, I do have a Padlet set up, so you are going to get on the Padlet. Please click on the one with your class next to it, and you're just going to time yourself for 1 to 2 minutes and write down as many possible themes as you can think of. Then when you're done, take a minute and read some of the other themes that other students have written down. If you're the first person to get on the Padlet, that's fine. Maybe stop back by in a little bit and check and see what their themes are, especially if you're having some troubles coming up with the themes of your own. But we'll visit the Padlet again tomorrow in class. This will be in the assignment right after this video, so you'll be able to click on the Padlet link from there. After you're done with that, I want you to think about at least one of those themes. Maybe a theme that you chose. Maybe you're going to use a theme that you noticed that a friend had written down. And you're like, oh, that's really cool to write about. And then I want you to set a timer for about 30 minutes and think about ways that you can incorporate your theme into one of those story ideas that you've written. Hopefully, you've got multiple story ideas by this time. So start thinking about how could you incorporate theme into one or more of those story ideas. If you've got some really good ideas, feel free to go ahead and spend the 30 minutes doing some writing time. Okay, we're going to really officially start our stories later this week, but if you've got a real good idea and you're ready to get started, it is okay to maybe start writing today as well. Okay, guys? Awesome job. Have fun writing today, writers.